Tell me about your character, Daphne, and how did you reinvent her for the next generation of Scooby-Doo fans?
Of course, I needed to be a part of this franchise for the child in me and for my child, but it's hard. I mean, listen, I brought Amanda to Daphne a little bit, like I do to every character,
Yep.
but at the same time, she's still that, bright, kind, very um, present, helpful friend, loyal, funny. I mean, they're it's all the strengths. They all have all the strengths, and they get along really well and in a very funny way. So I didn't do much. The writing was kind of there.
Well, it was fantastic. I mean, you really saw these characters come alive with this origin story, and you yourself has had so many experiences from Mean Girls, Mamma Mia. We can name them all. But what was it like working on this production, especially with an animated series?
Whew. Well, you're in a booth alone, but you have the director there. Tony was
Okay.
so adept at playing every single character really well. Thank God. That is like the saving grace for all of us. But you don't know exactly how it's going to sound with everybody else's voices. You're not there. It's different. It's a very different acting experience. It's a challenge, and I think I don't know. I think because I finally did theater, I think I was able to really jump in a different way. I had some more. I'm usually very insecure when it comes to voice work, so I definitely had some strengths that I had gained and worked and developed through theater. So I was able to really express myself with my voice more than anything because you don't have anything else. You can't like
Right,
my
right.
mannerisms. They're just gone. It's just my voice, and But I think I did better this time around.
Well,
Um,
I mean, it's very much like what we're experiencing now, kind of being isolated and having to just do the best that we can. How do you think that this will affect the next generation of young people who are watching this who may have no idea who Scooby Doo was? Like 1970s, what? Who is this
I
guy?
know, it's the fashion, bring the fashion back. That's great.
Yes.
But also, I think because it's very present day. It's growing with the times, and so I think this generation is going to make it their own. They don't care about the history of it. They don't care that we grew up with it as well, and generations older than me grew up with it. It's their own thing. They're like, it's like, hopefully they're not going to think that they invented it, but who knows? But no, even if they did, it's got. I mean, it is the origin story, so we do learn a lot more about Scooby and Shaggy when they came from, which is nice. But
Yeah.
we also and we get to meet new characters, but it's its own thing. It's a new, it's the same people going through new things, and it's perfect.
It's wild that we never knew like how they met before. That's what shocked me.
Like we never cared either. It didn't matter. Like it did. They were just together, and that was it. And that's beautiful. But now that we know that he kind of just they met through fate, and he saved him, it's just that much better.
It makes it more beautiful. So organic.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, Amanda, thank you so much for coming and speaking to the Nocturnal. You're fantastic. Stay safe during this time.
Thanks. Thank you. You too. Have fun.
Thanks for staying in. So, Will, you're playing Shaggy, which is such an iconic character. I mean, he's from the 70s. What inspired you to sign on to this role?
They asked me to do it. That was it. When
Simple.
somebody comes and says, "Oh, would you do this?" and it's Shaggy in a Scooby Doo movie, you say yes. I mean, I was born in 1970, so Scoob, which started in 1969, has just been a part of it was a part of my whole childhood, part of me being an adult. So it was such an honor to get to be a part of it.
And do you identify with him at all? And do you have a Scooby yourself, possibly?
I have two Scoobies, named Ross and Mudbutt. They're more traditional dogs and do barking instead of speaking. But oh my god, I love them so much, and I definitely identify with the Shaggy character, with kind of a little lazy, a little scruffy, a little fearful at times, and great lover of sandwiches.
And that's great that you have that bond with your dogs. And this movie is it's exceptional because of the fact that it's an origin story. How do you think it's going to connect with different generations today?
Well, I mean, it's so fun. I think about my feelings of affection for this franchise, and I'm almost 50. So to think of how many generations of people have grown up with this, it's really fun to be a part of. It's also kind of daunting, uh, the the these amazing people who have done the voice of Shaggy in the past. Kiersey Clemons, obviously, maybe the greatest of all time character voice. Matthew Lillard did such an amazing job also, and so to come in and have to take over from them was a nerve-wracking experience, because I yeah, I just care so much about the character and the show that I wanted to do it justice.
How did you make Shaggy your own for this one?
Well, I I had to make it my own because my voice just doesn't good with impersonations, and it just so I actually went in saying I don't know if I could do the actual Shaggy voice, and they said it's all right, we're just make it your own, we're not looking for an identical copycat of the previous version. So that took some of the pressure off. But this character has meant so much to so many people. It's that some people are, if it doesn't sound exactly like the Kiersey Clemons version or the Matthew Lillard version, that some people will have a hard time with it. So it was just tricky. So I wanted to go in and do the best job I could with the voice that I have. So I'm certainly honored to be a part of this movie, but it was definitely nerve-wracking because of all that stuff swirling around in my head.
Well, absolutely, but you did an amazing job. I mean, he has a very sing-songy voice, and I mean, I feel like you nailed it and did your own kind of, you had your own little Shaggy vibe. Um, and I know we're all stuck in quarantine, trying to stay safe, and we're tempted by so many treats. What is your favorite Scooby snack if you had to choose one?
Favorite Scooby snack? Well, if I'm for savory, I'm going to go with currently hip peas. They're the chickpea. They're almost like Cheetos, but made of chickpeas. And ice cream. Ice cream. If I'm going sweet, it's all ice cream or brownie sundae, or sundae, or cookies with ice cream. But it's always got to have ice cream. Yeah, it's tough to eat any kind of sweet without ice cream.
Solid choices. Thank you so much, Will. Jason, thank you so much for joining us.
Such a pleasure to be able to talk about something so positive in these challenging times. To be able to go, hey, we've got this great thing, which is fun for the whole family, and not to be asking for money or talking about, whatever, the stuff that's out there.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone likes a good Scooby-Doo movie. And, on that note, what made you sign on to play this iconic role?
Well, I was raised on Scooby-Doo. Saturday morning when I was a kid in England, there was no VCRs. There was just 2 hours of kids' TV, and we were glued. Everyone, the entire country of a certain age, were glued to the TV. And there was Scooby-Doo, and in fact, the Wacky Racers as part of the same section, where Dick Dastardly and Muttley and the gorgeous Penelope Pitstop. And so when I got an email. It said, you've been offered a part in the Warner Brothers animated feature, Scoob. It didn't say Scoob, it said Scoob. And that's what we call my daughter. My 14-year-old is called Ruby, and we've called her Scoob since she was born. So I didn't actually need to read on. But when I did read on, I just was agog with the joy of it all, getting to play Dick Dastardly, and that he was in the Scooby-Doo story.
And you've played countless villains before in your career. My favorite was Lucius Malfoy in Harry Potter. But how did you prepare to have the iconic role of Dick Dastardly narrowed down?
Well, I watched all the Dick Dastarlys. There's been 3 or 4 actors who played them over the years, all brilliantly. And I watched a bunch of the old cartoons. But this is a movie, and it's a big emotional journey. So there had to be something more threatening about him, frankly, because he was such a pathetic loser in cartoons always. And I tried out lots of different voices. But of course, the character in the original cartoon was based on an English actor in the movie It's a Mad, Mad World. So we tried lots of different voices, and we found one that we thought we liked and fitted. We went back to the original English. And then I'd be in the booth recording with our brilliant writer-director named Tony Savoni, and the only job you had was to make him laugh. If you didn't make him laugh, it wasn't getting in the movie. And if you did make him laugh, you couldn't use it in the movie because he'd laughed. So it's a bit of a catch-22. But that's what I did. I just played around with a million voices and going as far over the top as it's possible to imagine until I made him laugh every time.
I know you are an experienced voice actor, so it's incredible. Now, I know we're in the middle of this global pandemic. If you had to choose one Scooby snack to kind of as your treat, what would you have?
Well, I'm thrilled to say that Warner Brothers is sending me a box of Scooby snacks. They're issuing a bunch of stuff, obviously lunch boxes and merch and t-shirts, whatever. They sent me a list and said, what would you like? My teenage daughter looked over my shoulder and incredibly excited, went, get the Scooby snacks, Dad, get the Scooby snacks. So there is cinnamon, I think, and vanilla, and I'll let you know what they taste like. We're both very excited about them arriving in the post.
And you mentioned your daughters. How do you think this is going to impact the younger generations of new Scooby fans?
Well, one of the great things about it is it's got a bunch of gags that only adults will get, or some very advanced children, and it's got a fabulous plot and gags that the kids will get, lots of visual comedy, and everything in between. So it's pretty rare nowadays that I can find anything my whole family will sit and watch together. The kids, what their own things they're watching on laptops or iPads, and so I think what will happen, apart from people just loving the film because it's a great adventure, is they'll find something that they can all watch in the same room at the same time, and God knows how rare that is.
That's something we all need during quarantine. I know there's a couple adult jokes in there. So I caught that when he said the name 3 times. I caught that. Oh, well. Well, thank you so much, Jason Isaac. That was fantastic.
It's a pleasure. Hope everyone enjoys the film and gets 2 hours off from the rest of this nightmare.
Thank you so much for joining us, Kiersey. This is excellent.
Hi, I'm so excited to talk to you. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Tell me about the first time you were introduced to Scooby-Doo.
I don't know how old. I must have been 3 or 4, but my dad loves Scooby-Doo. So I'm sure I was scared. I was 3, yeah. And my little brother, he's 4 right now. And my dad said that he's also like afraid of when they rip the mask off. Yeah, so I'm excited for them to see the movie for sure.
That's fantastic. And talking about a whole new generation, you play a pretty amazing role as this futuristic woman of color. She's so brilliant. I mean, how do you think this will be inspirational to a whole new generation of Scooby-Doo lovers?
I mean, I was really excited to see what Dee Dee looked like. And yeah, it's interesting because I think being an actor, I tell myself so much that representation matters, but at a certain point I'm like, is it working? And then stuff happens like this where it's not me in my physical, it's not my flesh, it's not my being. So to see the sketch of Dee Dee and to see her hair and the shape of her body, I was really excited to voice that character and to be a part of that representation. And if it made me feel good and it made me feel represented, then it kind of validated that feeling of, okay, yes, representation does matter. And I'm excited to know that, during isolation, little black girls at home everywhere will look at Dee Dee and maybe go back to school in the fall. We're back at school in the fall and be like, okay, I want to have the Dee Dee hairstyle. I'm going to rock braids and put it up in a bun. And, sometimes we forget that we still need that even in 2020.
Taping this, you're not on set. I know you've done a number of amazing movies, but for this, you're pretty much in a booth with a bunch of amazing actors like yourself. What was it like?
I mean, it's funny because you get kind of relaxed because you're just there with people that end up being your friends, the director and the producers and everyone. And I go in my sweatpants and I eat cookies and I'm just like drinking Diet Coke and hanging out. So it's hard to like get your energy back up. But Tony, our director, was a great leader and kept me on track and kept me inspired to keep kind of creating Dee Dee as we go, which is something you don't get to do that actually at all when, you step on a movie set and you film. You can't go back and shoot day one. Whereas with this, once we realized who Dee Dee was and what she was turning into, we could go back to what we had already recorded and redo it and make it, better and more familiar.
And we're all stuck inside, of course, with this quarantine, trying to stay as healthy as possible. But I know that everyone is tempted by a couple of treats inside the homes. If you had to pick one Scooby snack, what would it be? What?
My Scooby snack is definitely, okay, I have 2.
That's
I
okay.
have two. I love pickles. I can finish a whole jar of pickles by myself. And cookie butter cookies from Trader Joe's. They're my favorite. Those are my Scooby snacks. Not together, but separately.
Well, you need a little bit of variation. I think
Mhm.
for myself, I think it's olives and then Girl Scout cookies.
You know what? You're on the same page though, of like the vinegary and then yeah.
The
I
salty.
love olives. I love olives. Yes. We're
They're
here.
so good. And last question, what do you hope that young people really take away from seeing the origin story of Scooby-Doo?
Go save an animal. If you want a dog, ask your mom or your dad to adopt. It's the best way to go.
That's so true. I think I'm going to try to do that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna foster soon.
Yeah, everyone's fostering in isolation. I think it's probably the best time for kids to like convince their parents to get a dog. Like, come on, mom, let's just foster it. We don't have to keep it. And then you end up keeping it.
Look what Shaggy did.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for speaking to the Nocturnal. It was great to chat with you, Kiersey, and I hope you stay safe during this quarantine.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. It was so nice talking to you. Stay safe.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.